So we start off this Tuesday's edition of the SportsMax Zone by continuing to examine the state of West Indies cricket following their failure to qualify for the ICC Cricket World Cup slated for October in India. There have been many fingers pointed at the region's governing body, but on Monday's show, former CEO and Director of Cricket West Indies, Gregory Shillingford, said the players need more exposure to global cricket.
We did have in place a development competition called the Shell Shield Tournament. And that was played by all the great West Indians at the time, Sobers included. And additionally, all these players played in the English county circuit and in the league cricket. They also went to Australia and played in Australia. And, you know, they played a lot more matches than what guys do right now. And also, by playing in these overseas leagues, we were able to benefit from the high quality, high performance coaching and high performance play in those leagues.
Yeah, Shillingford also says that more work needs to be done to lift the marketability of West Indies cricket.
I noted the comments of our commentator in Zimbabwe, Ian Bishop. He likened it to a corporation, a business, right? You have to have R&D, research and development work, to know if you're going to have a product called cricket and you want to market it or you want it to survive in a market, right? You have to tell that product, tell the producers of that product, this is what I want you to do to compete in the market. And that is not happening.
Yes, Gregory Shillingford there spoke to us live from Dominica on Monday's show. Now, Prime Minister of Antigua and Barbuda, Gaston Brown, also weighed in on the issue, speaking to the Dominican reporter Curtis Matthew at the conference of CARICOM heads of government in Trinidad and Tobago this week. The 56-year-old re-emphasized his warning back in 2019 not to remove then West Indies Cricket Board President Dave Cameron.
I remember, for example, when certain regional heads were clamoring for the removal of Cameron. I mean, I advised against it. I said to them, first of all, I don't know we have any locus to be interfering in the affairs of West Indies cricket, even though we're heads. But I was of the strong view that what was needed at the time, and it is still a problem, we need to invest more in cricket.
Yeah, Gaston Brown, never afraid to speak his mind and call a spade a spade. Curtis Matthew from the Dominica Broadcasting Service spoke with him yesterday in Trinidad and Tobago. We have joining us on the line here Vernon Springer now, Leeward Islands cricket official and a long-standing journalist as well, to talk to us about what has happened with the West Indies cricket and their failure to qualify for the World Cup this past week in Zimbabwe, and the continued decline of West Indies cricket. Vernon, welcome to the SportsMax Zone. I'm told that it's your birthday today as well. Happy birthday, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much. And let me say good afternoon to Daniel Oliver. I think it's the first time I'm linking up with him, and to all of the SportsMax fans all around the world. Today is a very important day. Also a holiday here in Antigua and Barbuda and St. Kitts and Nevis. It's CARICOM Day, celebrating 50 years. But it's a bittersweet moment, because while we celebrate CARICOM, while we celebrate the University of the West Indies 75 years, while we celebrate Eastern Caribbean Central Bank 40 years, we're celebrating a demise where West Indies will not be in the World Cup. And so on the lips of everybody around the Caribbean, that is really a bittersweet sort of moment. But I think that we really have to ask ourselves and know that this was always going to be on the card for some time. And it was almost just like having a sore. You have a sore, Lance and Daniel. And so when the sore gets better, all we do, you know, if somebody bump you on it, then we repair it. But we haven't really sat down and looked at the structure of West Indies cricket, or cricket West Indies. And so we're blaming everybody. We're blaming the players. We're blaming people not coming on board to sponsor. But nobody's going to come and support cricket West Indies if you don't have a proper structure and if people don't trust the structure. And that is the major reason why we're not getting any support. We need money. And it doesn't matter, Lance and Daniel, even if we find 40 million and we give it to the present Cricket West Indies board, the same systems are going to happen because they are not accountable to anybody. they don't answer to anybody.
Yeah,
That is where the problem is.
Werner, what is this structure that is missing that you're talking about?
Well, let's first of all look at the structure. We have 16 territories that play cricket in the Caribbean. All of them understanding the chart and understanding what their purpose is, what their mission is. What you have is almost everybody doing their own thing. And their own thing means that we don't have a complete plan in terms of what we want to do. And we have to be able to have a plan. First, the governance structure is something that administrators continue to see if they can avoid, simply because they want to be, as you would say, controlled. They want to be able to have control, and they don't want anybody to challenge them. And that is a major, 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 major problem. So who are the owners of West Indies cricket? Who are the stakeholders, right? They answer to themselves. You have people, they get folks in line. They have persons who come back with recommendations. Do they implement those recommendations when they come back? No, because they don't have the balls, they don't have the guts to go and implement those recommendations. So we continue to be stagnant. And firing Jimmy Adams, or firing the new president, or firing the selectors is not the issue to West Indies cricket. We are the only cricketing nation in the entire world which builds from the top down.
Vernon, I know that Barbadians have said for decades that when Barbados cricket is strong, West Indies cricket is strong. That was obviously true for the 60s, 70s, and probably the early part of the 80s as well. But we have to say that when the Leewards were strong in the 90s, 80s going into the 90s, with so many outstanding players like Sir Andy Roberts and Ivy Richards and so on, when Leewards cricket was strong, West Indies cricket was strong, but the Leewards haven't produced, let's say, a world-class batsman since Richie Richardson, and he retired 30 years ago in 1995. You're a Leeward Islands man. How can the Leewards lift its cricket, which would, in effect, trigger a West Indies boost as well?
Well, let's look, and I don't want to consider myself a Leeward man. I want to consider myself a character man. Okay. Because I'm a West Indian, and I don't want to be labeled, because I think that is one of the problems which is hurting West Indies cricket. Everybody is insular. Everybody wants to be a Jamaican when it is convenient for them. And everybody wants to support the West Indies team when it looks like they're winning. As soon as something falls off, then everybody becomes territorial. And to me, that is one of the things which I feel is really, really hurting us. We need to be borderless in our thinking, Lance. So let's give credit to Dave Cameron. Dave Cameron introduced a franchise system to prep cricketers in the Caribbean, 90 cricketers in the Caribbean. The highest earner, if you have an A contract, you get $2,500 a month for 12 months per year. So you get a yearly contract. That has nothing to do with when you play regional 4-day cricket. So on top of you getting $2,500 US, you get paid for playing regional cricket. You get paid for playing Super 50. So in a nutshell, even if you do not make the West Indies senior test team, you can still live comfortably. Now, you know how many tellers around the Caribbean don't earn that kind of money, $2,500 US a month. So you just picture how much $2,500 US a month is for a cricketer who gets an A contract in Guyana, in Trinidad, in Barbados, in the Leewards, and in the Windwards. So first of all, we have to give Cameron and his administration credit. But you know what happened, Lance and Daniel? Cameron energized that. Then he energized where you had some red ball cricketers given a contract and white ball cricketers given a contract. So in total, we'd have had 120 personnel given contracts where they're earning professional. Now, it is not perfect, but have we sat down and analyzed the franchise system? Because from the franchise system, you expect it to go up to the level of the West Indies level. Now, if the franchise system is weak, what do we expect is going to happen at the top? Nobody has done a proper evaluation as to what is happening in terms of our coaching structure at the franchise level, our nutritional structure, our mental structure in terms of whether we have mental people to help our athletes. So let's look at some of the contracts. You have people up until today, Lance, who can't pass a basic cricket West Indies fitness test. but they have a contract at the franchise level. About 45 cricketers out of the 90, between 45 to 50 personnel, are struggling to pass a basic fitness test. You're getting paid to play cricket, to train, to hire somebody to train you in your off season or whatever. And we are not assessing to say that there's a problem down there. That is where we have to start, Lance. Let's look at EU cricket. We can't get anybody, no sponsor in the region can come forward to sponsor our girls under 19 or our under 19 boys tournament we started today in Trinidad and St. Vincent. We can't get anybody around the world to sponsor our youth cricket in the Caribbean, where our youth cricket will just produce so many outstanding personnel. So what is the commercial department doing? How is the commercial department helping the game, which needs money? So the point that I'm saying, we have a lot of problems because we are only depending on the West Indies senior cricket team. How is the women's program being helped? Is there structure for the women's program throughout these 16 territories? There's no structure. There's no plan. There's no chart. So we're going to continue to have the problem. And if we beat India in one of these games, you're going to hear somebody say, we turned the corner. But if when England come, we might get 5-0. And then you hear somebody say, oh boy, but we got problems again. So we're really seriously not sitting down and understanding that, listen, we need to get some independent people like Lance to come in and really look at what is happening and give Cricket West Indies management or the directors a timeline to implement some of the governance structures that can help develop the game in the territories.
Sir Vernon, Donald here, by the way. I want to ask you a question here. I want to ask you a series of questions, but do you agree with what Gaston Brown had said about it being a mistake to remove Dave Cameron as president?
Well, you know, Donald, when you look at what happened during that period of time of the Dave Cameron saga, you know that was almost like territorial. That was almost like a real political football situation. It was like a campaign. And come high or low water, it was a move that was going to be able to remove Dave Cameron. Now, I'm saying to you in life, none of us are perfect. All of us make mistakes at some point in time, but we need to give credit where credit is due. And in life, any sports administrator, when you have a baton and you're serving for a period of time, you pass it over to somebody else. But our administrators in the Caribbean fail to give credit to people who achieve something or master something. We always want to spoil it. So we operate just like politicians. It's almost territorial. We want to try to please our constituents. So if Jamaica is against the current president right now, then they're being marginalized. You understand where I'm coming from?
I understand, but why does it have to be a personality contest, though? I think that's the main issue that I have with politics on a whole. But specifically to West Indies cricket, why does it have to be a personality contest? If you don't like him, despite the fact that he's doing okay, he should be out. He shouldn't be running the board.
Well, I think it's just almost a system where you can look around and you can see it's almost just like from slavery. We're still in a whole slavery mode. And the reason why we have not gone to the next level is because we are not united. And until we get united, we will continue to be asking the same questions, Daniel. Because all of us, if you listen to Jason Holder, you realize all of a sudden everybody now saying that we need to come together. How long you been saying that, Daniel? How long you been saying that, Lance? Right? Everybody just believe that they have the answer for West Indies cricket. So you know how they behave? They pick people from a particular territory and they think that they have the answer for West Indies cricket. Rather than collectively looking for the people, let's look for the people with the fire. Let's look for the people who have the big heart. So you have people who are saying, Cornwall is too fat. And I don't think that Cornwall is good enough to play in the West Indies one-day team. And he ain't good enough to play in the test team. But yet still, Cornwall is outperforming 119 other cricketers in a competition where you say he's too fat. You try and break down that for me and tell me, how practical is that?
Vernon, when we assess what has happened over decades of West Indies cricket and the decline of West Indies cricket, painful for a lot of former players who we have reached out to in the past week to talk on this show as you are now. and some of them are so disillusioned that they have very little to say. We hear this constant criticism that enough use isn't made of our legends, people who have concrete contribution to West Indies cricket during our glory years. Do you think that Cricket West Indies needs more of these brains of the successful players of the past, retired players, to inject some more concrete contributions to the development of the game?
Let's look at the franchise setup. And I speak to Chris pretty often. When Chris is home, you think anybody invites Chris to the Jamaica Scorpions camp to maybe even just sit down and talk to the batters?
This is Chris Gale? This is Chris Gale?
Yes, Chris Gale.
Yes.
Or Wavell Hines. I'll talk from the leewards.
Yes.
So I'll give you my story from the leewards. 50 years ago, El Comido Willett became the first player from Nevis to play for West Indies, Leeward Islands. And we know the history after that.
Left arm spinner.
Right? Yes. The Hurricanes franchise is in St. Kitts and Nevis. Has anybody ever invited Willett to come and speak to the Hurricanes? We have somebody like Victor Eddy, who would have played one of the better players of spin in the region. Have we called him out and said, boy, come and talk to a Casey Carty or Munsnodge or Kyron Powell and show them a thing or two? Have we brought out somebody like a Sir Vivian Richards and says, boy, Viv, come to St. Kitts and we can just have you come as a mentor to talk about the history of Leeward Islands cricket and West Indies cricket? Have we used our personnel? So if we are not using our legends at the territorial level, do you expect, Lance, that the people at the next level, because it's the people at the next level is who run in the territorials, you know. So if they're not using them down at the base, you think they're going to use them at the next level? They only use them when it is the political time to get elected. So just like normal politicians who use our soca artists, our reggae artists, and our calypsonians in the region to get elected, we do the same thing at the Cricket West Indies level when we're running for president. So we go and we speak to Dr. Desmond Haynes because we want him to endorse us. And we go and we speak to Mark Meter because we want him to endorse us. But once we get elected, we're not having any more conversations with the legends. And that is why the legends feel slighted. But you know why? You know what the real issue is? It is jealousy. It is jealousy. We have people, these guys are winners. So Clive Lloyd, so Viv, Michael Holden, they're winners. Our administrators today have not won anything, so they can't appreciate them.
Yeah, to be fair though, Vernon, Ivy Richards and Gordon Greenidge and Desmond Haynes and Sir Andy Roberts, a lot of these greats have been involved in management and coaching of West Indies cricket teams in the past. So I don't want us to suggest that they have been completely ignored.
But they're being seen shown as dinosaurs because their method of the way of doing things is not in conjunction to what is happening now. And that's what I'm saying. We have missed the boat because we need to go back to the methods to understand what has made us successful. Why don't we have a Shivnarine Chandapal and a Curtly Ambrose in part of our setup, in the present West Indies cricket day setup? These are questions that we have to ask. Why the personalities, as Donald said, has to be clashing? We have limited resources of people, but we're not using them effectively. We're not using our resources effectively to achieve what we want to achieve.
Yeah. All right, Vernon, didn't mean to raise your blood pressure on your birthday, but it's a topic that the fans need to hear about, and we need the comments from people who are involved in the cricket and who are passionate about the cricket. So thanks for talking to us. Enjoy the rest of your birthday, sir, and we'll talk again soon, I'm sure.
Hey, God bless you guys, man, and have a good one.
Yeah, Vernon Springer there out of St. Kitts and Nevis talking to us about the decline of West Indies cricket and some of the things that can be done to rebuild West Indies cricket. We'll be back with more on The Zone after this.